as the General Secretary of Ludhiana Management Association. It is both an honor and a privilege to stand before you on this auspicious occasion, our flagship event. Let's have a round of applause. Let's get started for the evening, people. Yes, thank you. So today marks a significant milestone in our journey as an association committed to excellence in management practices. It's a day where we come together not only to learn new insights, but also to forge ahead with renewed vigor and determination towards our shared goals. To our esteemed members, I extend my deepest gratitude for your unwavering support and dedication. Your presence here is a testament to your commitment to advancing the field of management and fostering a culture of innovation and collaboration within our community. I also extend a heartfelt welcome to our distinguished guests who've graced us with their presence. Your expertise and insights are valuable to us, and we are truly honored to have you join us for this momentous occasion this evening. May I kindly request our honorable guest of the day, Dr. Bharat Bhaskar, to kindly grace the stage with your presence and join our leadership team. May I have a round of applause? May I now kindly request our distinguished member, Ms. Mini Riyad from Akal Springs, to welcome our guest and present a bouquet of flowers as a mark of honor. Thank you, Ms. Riyad. As we gather here today, let us reflect on the journey that's brought us to this point and the challenges and triumphs that have shaped us along the way. I'm very confident that today's event will be both enlightening and inspiring, offering us a platform to exchange ideas, learn from one another, and strengthen the bonds that unite us as members of this esteemed organization. May I now invite all the past presidents of LMA, along with the leadership team, on the stage to join us for the ceremonial lamp lighting ceremony. May I request each of you to focus your energies on the lamp for the collective well-being of everyone who's present in here. Thank you everyone for the ceremonial start. So let's embark on this journey together. May it be an evening filled with fruitful discussions, meaningful conversations, and memorable events. Once again, I welcome everyone, and for all of us who's joining new, may I formally introduce the organization, Ludhiana Management Association, to all of you. Founded in 1978, Ludhiana Management Association emerged as an affiliated unit of the esteemed AIMA, All India Management Association, Delhi, propelled by the vision of management luminaries, seasoned executives, and enterprising industrialists. The overarching aims of LMA encompass bolstering the proficiency of member organizations through robust management education, offering comprehensive training and development programs for entrepreneurs and executives. Over time, LMA has evolved into a preeminent and rapidly burgeoning management association in northern India, boasting a membership roster of 650 distinguished industrialists, entrepreneurs, top-tier management executives, esteemed management academicians, bankers, and a lot of seasoned professionals. Noteworthy accolades adorn LMA's illustrious journey, including the prestigious Best LMA for the years 2010 and 2014 on a national scale, bestowed by All India Management Association. Steered by a constellation of eminent industrialists, LMA's leadership legacy shines brightly. Past presidents such as Shri Brijmohan Lal Munjal, Chairman of Hero Motocorp Limited, and Shri S.P. Oswal, Chairman of Vardhaman Group, have been honored with the Padma Bhushan, while Mr. Rajendra Gupta of Trident Group has been awarded the Padma Shri. Additionally, Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal, Chairman of Hero Corporate Service Limited, has also served as the past president of CII. The roll call of distinguished keynote speakers as LMA event reads like a who's who of India's intellectual and corporate landscape, including luminaries such as His Excellency Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, former President of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, former Finance Minister and Prime Minister of India, and Mr. Anand Mahindra, Vice Chairman of Mahindra & Mahindra Limited, amongst many others. For the past 28 years, the Honorable Governor of Punjab has graciously presided as the chief guest at LMA's annual function, underscoring the enduring significance and influence of the association in the region. In the current tenure, under the leadership of Harpreet Kang as the current president, Team LMA is committed to creating immense value for its esteemed members. Once again, a warm welcome to each and every one of you on this lovely evening. And for the time that everybody's been waiting for, such a privilege for me to be standing in here and having the opportunity to host members of Ludhiana LMA, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to read an introduction of a worthy speaker for this evening. Hold your horses, this is a pretty long list of established. Dr. Bharat Bhaskar is an eminent academician and visionary leader in the realm of management education. With a distinguished career spanning decades, Professor Bhaskar currently serves as the director at the prestigious Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, IIMA. His unwavering commitment to excellence and innovative approach to education have significantly contributed to IIMA's reputation as a global hub for management studies. At heart, Professor Bhaskar is an experienced information technology leader with almost 3 decades of experience in industry, research, teaching, and consulting in India and globally. A BTech graduate from IIT Roorkee, Professor Bhaskar obtained his MS and PhD from Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, USA. He was a professor of information technology and systems at IIM Lucknow before he joined IIMA as director on March the 1st, 2023. He's also the director of IIM Raipur from March 2017 to March 2022. And before that, he was a professor at IIML for over 2 decades, also serving in various administrative capacities such as acting director and dean. Professor Bhaskar brings rich industry experience as well. He's held senior positions at many organizations globally, including the Goddard Space Flight Center, NASA, Sybase Incorporation, and MDL Information Systems. His areas of interest include IT strategy, digital transformation, electronic commerce, business process reengineering, business analytics, optimization, and data analysis. Professor Bhaskar's academic prowess is matched only by his dedication to nurturing future leaders and fostering a culture of excellence. Under his leadership, IIMA continues to push boundaries, empowering students with the skills and knowledge necessary to thrive in today's dynamic business landscape. He's also been a visiting professor at ESSEC Business School, Paris, France, and University of Texas, Dallas, USA. He served as distinguished professor at Chung-Ang University, Seoul in Korea, and a research professor at University of California, Riverside, USA. Also as an adjunct faculty of Information Systems, University of Maryland, College Park. Beyond academia, Professor Bhaskar is a thought leader sought after for his insights on a wide range of topics, from strategic management to organizational behavior. His research contributions have left an indelible mark on the field, shaping scholarly discourse and influencing industry practices. Ladies and gentlemen, with a resounding applause, please put your hands together for Dr. Bharat Bhaskar. Sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you all. Good evening to all of you. With the kind of introduction Rahul just gave and talked about, I think if I am able to fulfill 10% of his expectation, I'll be grateful. I think when we talked about the topic and the various thoughts came to my mind, and I thought one of the things which I can talk to this in city which has been leading India in its own way in the industrial domain. As far as the traditional industry is concerned, as far as whatever cannot be done anywhere in India and the problem has to be solved, Ludhiana is the place where people have been looking forward to, that they will find some innovative solution. So traditional economy, Ludhiana has shown a great deal of innovation capability. Innovating, many people called it, many people have documented it and called it India's solution of innovation called Jugaad technology. Right? And there's a vast field when people talk about and teach today about innovation, they also talk about India's Jugaad innovation. And Ludhiana has been pioneer in that innovation. But today I thought I'll talk to all of us about what is happening around us. Because we are in a global economy. The world is transforming. At one extreme, I was just talking to a few people outside, and we're talking what will happen when the AI comes in. What is this talk about AI? At the other extreme, we are still trying to innovate the basic machinery which will get our life going. So, India lives in two extremes. Because we are also called IT leaders of the world or IT innovators of the world today. In many of the sectors, other than the hardware, if not India, the Indians have done a human job. Much of the industry which gets formed today in a non-hardware sector happens to be led by Indians. Corporations after corporations around the world you'll find have been founded, either merged with a larger corporation, or they have become themselves a large corporation. So our prowess in IT has been already recognized. Now, what we need to understand that IT, earlier when we were talking about, and when we begin to become in pre-2000, an IT powerhouse of the world, was a peripheral IT. IT as a technology was not about the business. It was about running a business in an effective and efficient manner. How do I drive the business more efficiently? How do I make things transparent? Visibility of the supply, visibility of my inventory, visibility of my payroll. So, what could be automated In order to bring out the efficiency in organization, the IT was all about, and that's why I call it a peripheral technology or a support technology which supported the businesses. But something changed. And what changed, and that's why I call the first era of IT, was all about bringing efficiency in organizations. And I'm not going to dwell into it because we saw 80s, 90s, and even up to 2000, IT was being talked about only in that frontier. The second wave of IT came. Rest of the world, especially in the Western world, and even in the Western world, I would say mainly in the United States, in early 90s. In India, it began to make forays into late 90s. And that happened because of what we call the convergence. The convergence of three things. There was a computing, which was a peripheral technology, supporting the businesses. Then there was a communication, which came to us in form of telephony much earlier. I would say almost a century earlier or nearly a century earlier. But then later in 1960s and 70s and 80s, when people began to talk about computer-to-computer communication, by 1984, the term called Internet was born. Prior to that, also computers were begin to talk to each other. People were able to connect computers with each other and so on. But the true birth of the Internet happened with what we call, I don't know, many of you may remember, there was an investigation by US Congress on their military failure. And I won't deal with that story in a detail, but I will say US has invaded Grenada. Using the internet technology-based communication amongst the four forces, Navy, Army, Air Force and Marines, and the coordination failed because of the communication. Although Grenada was a tiny island, so even any single force would have captured it, and they did capture it. But the internal failure was a great failure because you had relied the whole war on internet technology, and technology failed at that point of time. So that war was in 82, 83 onward, a committee was formed, and committee worked around, and they did not prescribe the punishment. Instead, what they prescribed was, the failure was because these computers were talking to each other, but there was no standardization of the communication. And that standardization was done in a protocol called Internet Protocol, and that's how the term Internet came around. Internet, once it came around, everybody adopted, it grew, and by 90s, we had worldwide at least the speed of 1 Mbps lines. Although they may sound to young people very minuscule line, but 1 Mbps was a great bandwidth for us. In India, by 96, about 64 kbps lines had begun to come in, we call these lines at that point of time. But with 1 Mbps line, the communication, the telephone and data communication has merged into one. People had begun to create these telephone apps on the computer. So they'll connect two PCs and have the telephone apps running on both computers and talk to each other. So the convergence of computer on one end and the communication, which is the voice and data communication on the other end, are the two important developments. And a third development which happened, which brought all these things together, was called World Wide Web. A new protocol was developed which says that how you talk to each other, how you communicate with each other, bury underneath it the internet. Don't bother where the network is and what the layers of networks are buried under it. You can communicate by using one common address. And what we call the .com addresses, .edu addresses, .net addresses. Once the World Wide Web came in, the content which was actually earlier the analog in nature, which had become digital automatically, irrespective of the computing and communication people. If you remember the sound system, the sound, we had the gramophone records, followed by tape recorders. Both of them had a problem, and the problem was noise. And then somebody came up with the idea based upon 1940s Shannon theorem that all that sound can be digitized in form of a compact disc and it becomes zeros and ones. Some innovative person said, this compact disc can store zeros and ones, so I can store the data in it. The other person said, since the music is also stored in 0 and 1, I can read it on my computer. And I can, if I have a speaker, I can render the sound in it. Now you see, all the content, which was music, which was movies, all got digital in nature. So content, communication and computers, all three merged into one device. The communication lines carried the computer-to-computer communication. Content was already stored on those CDs, later on in hard disk, and computer was able to do the processing work. With these three things, the birth of new era happened. And amongst the few early ones who took advantage of it was a company called Amazon.com, which said, all I can do is simply put all the books, scan them, digitize their content, and put the title, etc., and so on. And when you go to bookstore, what do you buy? You scan the book, few pages here, few pages there. You see, our original Amazon site, early era, used to exactly have the same. You can read the random pages, you can read the title page, you can read the table of content, you can read about author, book back page and front page. And said, I'm giving the same experience the bookseller is giving you. But you don't have to run around from bookstore to bookstore in order to find the book you are interested in. That was one advantage. The bigger advantage was that now the bookstore sells that book, let's say for 500 rupees, I will give you for 300. Reason is very simple. All of you are from business. The distribution channel always has a friction, and that friction is nothing but translates into value or a cost. If I remove the whole distribution channel, the publisher publishes it for 50 rupees, I can be happy with 50 rupees profit and ship it to you. 3 or 4 or 5 layers of distribution chain disappears from the right. So disintermediation became the name of the game. The second era, the e-commerce, really thrived on these two things. One of them, the first thing was called disintermediation. Of course, people talked about electronic commerce, the global access at home, 24/7 delivery, etc., and so on, and bunch of other things. But the two key elements were nothing but the reduction in the price at which we buy. One, because of the disintermediation of the distribution chain. Other, the same thing happening at the supply chain. I can also disintermediate my supply chain, remove multiple players, and I will be able to redistribute that value which is coming out of the restructured supply chain. Also, it gave rise for me to do the supply network. Earlier I was limited, but other partners as came along, I could discover many more suppliers than compared to what I could discover in my old traditional model. Consequence was the huge depression in the price, and many people are experimental, or you may call the innovative people, the youth, migrated towards the Amazon.com. That was the great contribution of the second phase. Based on this, you saw hundreds of businesses were lined up. People began to invest money, and that gave rise to 98, 99 in US, and in India in 2000 to 2002, called dot-com boom. Every other youngster you talk to them about, every business magazine you read, or open the cover page, see the cover page, or open any page, it'll talk about the brick and mortar is dead, the dot-com is the thing. Old economy will die, new economy will come in. And on and on. And because of this hype, tons of money got poured in. And then came post-2000 or 2001 and 2 period, dot-com bust. If the 4 businesses were born every day in the dot-com boom era, 8 were dying, or double the speed was of the death of these businesses. And then 2003 and 4 you will read, it's a dot-com bust, it was a sham, and we all had it, and dot-com or electronic commerce is gone forever. Did it really disappear? Because the people who came in at dot-com boom did not understand the basic philosophy on which the business is going to thrive. Those who understood the business model, those who understood it's not the I will create a business and somebody will buy it, or I will be online and suddenly people will buy it. Those who understood the disintermediation of these two aspects, the strategic intent of ability to change the scope of my business, ability to leverage on existing platform lot more businesses than what I am able to carry out today, those businesses all survived. Amazon was then born amongst the first few, remains at the top of the game even today. Many of the copycats of Amazon died. Right? So dot-com boom and dot-com bust gave a sobering feeling to the booming community, and it said you need to understand the business. And the business model, although business model has been around since the 60s, but the key word today, anybody you talk about, I have a great business model. Earlier also they had a business model, but e-commerce brought that to the forefront. Those who have a sustainable business model actually continue to survive. The phase did not end there. The web people itself realized the problem is we are selling it one way. What we are doing, if I'm a seller, which was Amazon.com was, we are only doing one-way sale, imitating the retailer, but not doing anything beyond. And what is that beyond? Beyond is a two-way communication. In the actual shop, we have an interaction. We learn from each other. By learning the consumer's taste, how do companies collect data? From the retail shop all the way upward. We are not taking advantage of any of that. Amazon realized that and said the web technology itself has to be made, updated, and it has to become a two-way web. Two-way web gave rise to another interesting set of companies. That is, Amazon.com still sells something, but the two-way web gave rise to a new generation of e-commerce where content is also not mine, content is yours. The companies, there are many are born and many are not there, Friendster, etc., many are gone, but one of them survives called Facebook. What does Facebook do? They don't even invest any money in creating any content for you. Twitter, latecomer, early comer is a Facebook, right? They do nothing. You create content, your friends consume content. I am a happy platform. I only provide you that capability because they said world is not going to need only transactions, buying and selling, they also need a social transactions. Can I make all their friends meet for all their life who have distributed all over the world? Used to be a tagline of Facebook. By becoming two-way, it gave rise to new kind of opportunities. What we call the platform business. Now these platform businesses are even more amazing. Facebook is a platform. In India, some people early enough took great advantage of it. And that's where it began to become, as I said, I've been talking only examples till now of US, because US was leading everything there. We had Flipkart of our own early, somewhere in 2000, but I don't talk about it because it's a copycat of a Amazon.com, and it's a good opportunity. If you see Amazon.com is not here, why can't I bring Amazon.com into India? Or I can create my own Amazon.com. They took a great advantage of it. The other innovative business was, when the second era came in, eBay. What is eBay? Neither my goods nor my shipping. I do nothing. I am a platform. You have a used goods or you have any goods, you list it there. Other people will come and bid, and the best price you get for the price gets discovered on the platform. You ship that, and I take commission for the selling. And eBay today is one of the top few businesses in the world. India again imitated immediately. Some of the Harvard graduates who had come back to India created in India called Bazi.com. I do not know how many of you remember, but there used to be a big ad every day in the TV called "Did you Bazi today?" Right. And they innovated on the eBay model, because India doesn't have the market for that old good seller and old good buyers. So then there's a Bombay Chor Bazaar. Right? And there are more than 10,000 suppliers out there. Many of people go and used to buy electronics and variety of these goods. They are called illegally smuggled goods. If they are, I don't know whether they are fake goods or real goods, but the market is known for that, and you get it much cheaper price. These people went to each one of them, registered them that you become my seller, and I'll give you a global market. So there, as I said, original eBay, a user wanted to sell their used stuff, and other users bought it. In Indian Bazi.com, actually the sellers were shopkeepers, and other people bought it. So Bombay Chor Bazaar was accessible to all over India, was their model. And a wonderful thing happened, but ultimately eBay realized it, and eBay found a good model, and eBay bought it. So eBay India is nothing but original Bazi.com. So these people succeeded in doing their business model. The issue is, but the other Indian businesses, which has been greatly successful, and many of you may have used it as either employer or as an employee, called Naukri.com. Right? Again, what does Naukri.com do? It's because of the two-way web. It creates a platform. It says you are a job seeker or you are a job giver. If you are a job seeker, then you post your resume here. And if you are a job giver, then you post your JD, or job description here. And I'll do the matchmaking for you. So I have a little search engine or a little engine which says, if you have posted a JD, here are the matching, I'll send a mail to them that there's a job matching your resume, and to a JD provider, I'll send the other way around. In the process, when you are listing your job as a job description, JD there, I'll charge you some commission. And Naukri.com has been hugely successful. I think it's one of the earliest, or one of the, I will not be mistaken, this is one of the first unicorn created by IIM Ahmedabad. Right? So, maybe they have been in the past, but in the digital era or in digital frontier, this is the first unicorn which was created by our own alumnus while trying to understand internet and figure out the job listing and job market, because in the newspaper ad, there's no matching, it's a one-way service. You advertise, somebody sees it, applies or doesn't apply. Here in the same platform, 24/7, available to everyone. So the second phase of the .com was actually even more powerful. And it created and upended many of the businesses. The impact of that has been so great that if you see, in 2008, a company called Airbnb was born. And what happened with Airbnb? It hardly took Airbnb 5 or 6 years, 2014, to have an inventory of 2 million rooms. And how long did it take for Marriott, which is the largest inventory holder? About 650,000 rooms across the globe. Almost 60 years. That's the level of growth. The variation and opportunity Airbnb offers you. Again, the platform. What does Airbnb do? It gives us a lesson that in internet economy, I don't need to own the assets. I need to network the assets. It's a sharing economy where I can share, and the Uber driver can be somebody else's driver, so it's a sharing opportunity for both of them. And many times you'll say, Uber is not giving me enough business, I am switching my taxi to Ola or some other competitor, or Lyft in US. So it's a sharing on both sides. Wherever I find best opportunity, I'll go there. And as Uber, I'll continue to aggregate as many resources as possible. These are some of the examples and whose imitations or equivalent exist in India. Right? Ola came in, Airbnb also got its own equivalent in country, Oyo, and on and on. So you see the rebirth of the internet or a .com in form of interactive web till about 2012 or 15 has been transforming the economy worldwide. Many businesses disappeared because they didn't react in time. Prime example of the same digital technology based disappearance is a Kodak. We all know Kodak camera and Kodak reels. Business doesn't exist. Kodak was best in its game. Its reels or the photographic capability or the reel capability, etc., and the printing capability was best in the world. They were investing huge amount of money in research. The digital technology came in. And who brought this digital technology? Unfortunately, Kodak. Kodak invented a digital camera in 1980s. It was a relatively large camera because that time processors, etc., were not so compact that they can be put in a... Today, of course, they can be put in your mobile, occupying a very tiny segment of it. That time it was a large camera. But the technology was only 640 by 480 pixel. Because that's the display pixel capability at that point of time. So they said these are very dotted pictures. For a coarse picture it's fine. We are producing the finest pictures with millions and billions of pixels equivalent in a print. These cameras are no good. And they abandoned it. 98, 99, somebody decided, actually in 98, 99, 93, 94, 95, a tiny company called Connectix Corporation decided the same technology I will use and connect it to PC. For $99, X-shaped camera, put next to the PC, connected to PC, will take your picture. Of course, along with the PC, you can carry it everywhere, but you can take the pictures on your PC, click it, etc., and so on. So it was a toy. And they sold it for $99 as a Christmas gift. They sold more than 1 million of them. With that kind of a revenue, the disruptor was born. Many of the PC cameras came, but somebody came up with the idea. When I have a 1 megapixel, the first digital camera came in the market was 1 megapixel. But next year itself it was 2 megapixel. And next year it was a 4 megapixel. Kodak till 4 megapixel said it's no good. And kept sleeping over and continuing their R&D in the wrong path. Except that it multiplied in next couple of years into 8 and 16 megapixel with the convenience of not loading the roll, not running out of the roll, unlimited pictures, every person becoming a great cameraman because I'll take 20 shots, at least one of them will be good, whether I'm a good photographer or not. With that kind of capability, the Kodak is a history. So 2004, 5, 6, they kept making the losses. They tried introducing their digital camera, etc. in market. It was too late. So digital technology's problem is it's very disruptive in nature. Why, the kind of disruption it causes, I'll tell you by a simple story. I'll take a little break from too much of IT to a game of chess. Right? Many of you know India invented a game of chess by name of called Chaturanga, which became Chaturang in Iran and Shatranj in Arabia. And then we also acquired the same name called Shatranj. So with that kind of a invention, there's a nice story behind it. And many of you may have read the story of a chess game and a rice. There's supposedly a great king who had a southern kingdom, very safe and secure, so creativity, literature, if you have a safety and security in a kingdom, all those things thrive. So, wonderful kingdom, all kind of safety, culture, art, everything thriving. That kingdom was very strong. Since the kingdom was very strong, the king never had to worry. The northern border of the kingdom had a rebellion. Normally, the local generals guarding the borders used to quell down the rebellion. This time they tried, but the rebellion grew and it took months and they couldn't. And the rebellion was growing. So they sent a message, SOS, to the king that, Lordship, we are in trouble. These rebels are really growing strong. They have some ultra forces behind them. We are not able to suppress this rebellion. So king decided it's time to quash it for good so my kingdom can thrive. So he called the general and summoned him that march with your army and here is the problem. General said, give me a couple of days, I'll prepare and we'll be on the border. And while he was preparing, king got a thought. So king called the general, I have one request to make. He said, sir, you command. I said, my request to you is take my son along. We don't get these kind of battles many times in our kingdom. He's a future inheritor of this kingdom. So he should go and see the borders and see a real war and be battle hardy. So both of them marched. After some time, the general returned and came to the court and told the king, sir, I have two news to share with you, one good and one bad. King said, first tell me the good news. He said, good news is the rebels have been captured, the kingdom has been eradicated of them, and their top commanders, etc. are in our custody. So he says, no, now tell me the bad news. He says, bad news is, sir, while doing all this, we lost your son. Now hearing this news, and the only son, king just walked away from the court, went to his palace. People understood the king has gone in the morning, so he will be coming out after some rituals, etc. The rituals, etc. happened, and they all passed away. But king decided not to come out of the court, of the palace. Now the cabinet got worried, so they asked the prime minister that what is happening? King is not coming back to the darbar for so long. Let's do something. Prime minister and cabinet approached him. He tried cajoling him. He said, there's nothing left for me involved. In a sense, he was really in a deep depression or deeply mourning the loss of the son. So he decided, no, I'm not coming out. I'm happy with whatever I'm doing, leave me alone. With the passage of time, these people worried if the message goes out, more rebels will pop up. If the king is weak, kingdom will not be safe. So they decided we need to bring the king out of the depression. So they summoned the court dancers, entertainers, jesters, one by one, do something so king comes out of the melancholy mood and be in the happy mood. With all that trial, all of them failed. They even decided, we'll give you a reward if somebody can make king happy. So many preachers, soothsayers, all kind of people tried, all of them failed. So after a while, everybody was quiet. Then suddenly, the guard comes to the Prime Minister and he says, "Sir, there is a gentleman sitting outside. He says he wants to meet you." He said, "Why?" He said he can please the king, but he is in tattered clothes. He said, "Anyway, bring him." The chief Prime Minister saw him, but said, "Well, what's harm in letting him try when everybody has failed?" This fellow had a bag, bad clothes. He said, "Okay." So he said, "Go to the palace." He went to palace. Now several days passed. Almost a week passed. Neither the fellow will come back nor the king will come back. So they were worried what is happening there. So they sent a minister to find out. He went and inquired from the cooks, etc. He says, "I don't know, sir. They both are sitting with some kind of a board in front of them. And they keep looking at each other and looking at the board. That's all they do. In between, they take some breaks, eat some food, but that's about it." Said, maybe some magic he is doing or some voodoo science he is doing, so something will happen. They waited for some more time. More weeks passed. This time they decided, let the whole cabinet go. This time cajole the king and tell him that without you, the kingdom is lost. You have to come out. So they went in all fully prepared. When we went there, they started observing exactly same, both engrossed in some board. And then he saw this gentleman whose name was Sesa. Sesa moved a piece. And there was a smile on the face of king. And king didn't wait this time long. He moved another piece and said equivalent to checkmate. Right. Prior to that piece, when the Sesa had moved, he had taken the wazir of king away. So Sesa thought he has made a great move by taking the queen away from the board. The king next time gave him a checkmate. Sesa lost the game. King was happy. He turned around to his cabinet. He smiled and he told them, after several weeks of this is a game of army, 2 armies, and I've been losing every time to him. Today I have won. But I have won by sacrificing my queen. The lesson for me is that my son's sacrifice has not gone in vain. Sometimes to save the larger picture or larger kingdom, or to have the victory, you have to sacrifice your dearest piece. He said, "I'm very happy today. Let's life come to normal." Prime Minister says, "Sir, we have promised we'll give him reward." The king was so happy, he said, "You can take anything." Now, Prime Minister was worried. Anything means kingdom also. But this Sesa was very interesting. He thought, looked around, and he said, "Give me some rice." Now, everybody said, must be stupid fellow in tattered clothes. He must be really hungry. He can't think of anything better than rice. King says, "How much rice?" He says, "Only this much, that you put 1 grain on the first square, 2 in the second, 4 in the next, and 8 in the next, and on and on." King said, "Take it." Sesa went away. Well, big treasurer. After a week, Sesa was back in the darbar. And this time King asked, and King thought Sesa was stupid. He has come to ask that something more. He said, "Oh, I know you'll come back. What more you want?" Sesa said, "No, sir, I'm very unhappy. I've not been given what I had asked." He summoned the treasurer, why have you not given him? He says, sir, guess how much is that rice, he has asked. Anyone? Right? 2 to the power 64 in the last box. Right? It's a 2 square, 2 cube, 2 to the power 4. So 64th box will have 2 to the power 64. 2 to the power 64 rice is 18 quintillion number of rices. If you spread those rices, the whole earth's surface will be covered. I think whole worldwide production is not even that much in terms of tons. So it asked several years of production, and that time production may not be, population was not that much, so you're not producing that much. The reason I tell you a story is that it's a power of 2. Right? We don't recognize the power of 2. We say, I am going to have exponential growth. Many times we talk in our businesses, I am looking forward to exponential growth. Do we really understand what is exponential growth? This is what exponential growth means. Now, who grows exponentially? We say anytime very large growth, or we are growing exponentially. Exponential growth truly happens in information technology. Every technology initial year has exponential growth, but there's a tapering point. But IT has not shown that. So there are 3 laws of IT. One called Moore's law, other called Butterworth's law, and third called Kreider's law. Moore's law says computing power doubles itself 18 months. Butterworth's law says internet will double its speed every 15 months. And Kreider's law says every 12 months we'll double the disk speed, disk capacity. Remember 1 MB floppy drive. Today, how much you carry in your pen drive? Right? Gigabytes and terabytes. We don't even count how much storage I carry in a tiny box today. IT, that's why grows at this pace. And that's why businesses are disrupted by IT faster than anybody else. First and foremost, IT disrupted all IT companies. Remember, there was IBM, there was Digital Corporation, there was Data General, on and on, there were tens of them who were computer manufacturers. How many of them survive today? Only IBM. HP in some form. And that's about it. The rest are all gone. Because they couldn't understand the pace at which it is growing. Right? So we need to look at disruptions to our businesses which will come from IT. Right? And where are these disruptions coming from? These disruptions are coming from multiple fields. There are 2 types of disruptions every industry has to understand. One is the IT-led disruption, or what I call any technology-led disruption, which is exponential in nature. And the first, even earlier, is that linear disruption. We all know how to deal with linear disruptions, yet we get disrupted sometimes. The steel industry is a great example of that. You remember the US steel industry? Giant and behemoth steel industry. The tiny furnaces were born. The large steel mills, integrated steel mill plant used to make the rebar steel. They also used to make the H-bars, I-bars, and their specialized steels. The rebar steel goes where? In the construction? In the concrete? These tiny melting boxes they got, they could recycle all the iron material from various places, remelt it. In India we have tons of them, and draw these rebars. Quality was hardly a great question. You knew whose is the best, but as a construction engineer or as a construction contractor, I know it's going to get buried under concrete, so we buried plenty of them. The demand from them grew. Now, you are doing a tiny plant in a small furnace, the cost was almost 30% lower. So these people brought that product at 30% lower cost than US Steel or any other integrated, or Bethlehem Steel, any integrated steel plant owner. When they started selling at this, the margin for that product in the large steel plant was only 2 to 5%. These people also realized we produce a whole lot of rebars, hardly any margin there, I don't add to my profit line to that extent, and these people are selling at 30%, no point I trying to compete with them. I can't sell it at loss. So they gave up that business. When they gave up this business, what happened? All these small mill owners had a good time, whole market came to them, their business grew leaps and bounds. But then everybody is selling at 30% margin, 30% lower than that. Their margins are only 8 to 10%. They start competing and their margins start coming down. Now they have money, so they upgrade their capability. And they also decide, if I do H bar and I bars, my margins will be very high. These people are getting about 10% margin there, I can get back to my 20-25% margin here. So they upgrade their capability and get into that business. Now 8 to 10% profit margin product, again the large steel mills reject in same fashion. Low margin product, specialty steels are 30% margin. They give up on this. Same thing happens with the small mill owners. They compete amongst themselves, they become not so profitable, so they say it's time for us to attempt for the specialized steels. And once they come in the specialized steel, the large steel plants have a problem now. And consequence is only Pittsburgh Steel and Bethlehem Steel were left. All other large mill owners died. We all know this and we are able to take care because this is still a linear growth. You knew the window what is coming. They should have reacted in a different fashion. It was a reaction problem. How do you deal when a low-end margin player comes in? China keeps doing to us and we keep destroying our industry. We don't know how to do, we didn't know how truly to react to Chinese businesses when they'll come with a low margin and insert their low quality product. And the market will behave same way. Consumer will say low quality, low price, it's okay for me. Right? That's a typical reaction of the market. He says, chalo, theek hai, 1/3 of the price, even if it lasts 1/4 of the time, my job is done. So how to react is one. But IT disruptions don't behave that way. IT disruptions are much deeper. They take away much of the problems because these people give you a time. IT by doubling, when a PC comes in a marketplace, everybody discarded it, good for nothing. 6 years later, it had same capability with a mini computer you'll have, whose cost was about $100,000 versus a PC whose cost was $5,000. A high-end PC. So a $5,000 PC can do job of most of the small and medium businesses, lower medium businesses. These people thought, why should I invest $100,000 because DEC is offering or a Data General is offering me only $100,000 machine. I will put two $5,000 machine and I'll be able to get my job done. 5 or 6 years. All these companies got completely destroyed. This is the mid or 2015, 2018, 2020. 2015, the third wave of business disruption is happening. And we need to prepare. And that's coming back to manufacturing. Because one can say the second wave of disruption have impacted the manufacturing only in a sense, many of the products have been converted into services. But the third wave is much deeper, which is already the large corporations are deploying. If you look at the BMW factory, right? The manufacturing of a gearbox assembly, you'll see a robot, a nimble robot, standing next to a human being, lifts a gearbox, puts about 26 pound worth of the gears in it, and then human being does whatever needs to be done with it, the lighter work, and product moves from assembly line. Now, human and robot have a different speed. The robots are not new. Robots were there earlier also. So earlier robots were doing what? Earlier robot, you go to any car assembly line, the robot section is separate. Robots are a fixed robot. If you come in its way, it will kill you. Because it will continue to operate at same speed, same arm movement. It's not sensitive to you. So you normally case the robots in an area that humans can't walk here with robots in operation. And the humans will do their part, robots will do their part. Today's robots, which are in assembly line, are very different. They are sensitive to the human beings, or what we call adaptable robots. They adapt, they have eyes and sensors. If human is slow, it will not pick another one and dump on him. It sensitizes, learns the human behavior, operates according to human behavior. Now, how does it impact the manufacturing? But impacts the manufacturing in one way. We had gotten in the era of automobile manufacturing with the mass production, right? The Henry Ford's assembly lines were famous for mass production, so the cost of cars came down, but you didn't have the features customized to you, you had the standard cars. All mass manufacturing, all across, whether it's a clothes, whether it's a variety of other merchandise, the costs have been kept down because of our assembly line manufacturing capability. People who wanted well-fitted clothes, well-fitted car, well-fitted product have gone to the customization. But the cost of customization has always been not even 2 to 3, even many times more than that. So those who could afford still went for customized things. These nimble robots are bringing the customization back. I can order my car, I can redesign certain components and parts. Since the robot and human are working together in a nimble way with a fast, lower cost, they can assemble those products. And that's what BMW is using them for. Fanuca, a great company in this nimble or adaptive robot maker, is churning out 10,000 to 20,000 robots per year. These are learning robots. Actually, in assembly line, they observe the behavior, and next day they are trained. You may call it AI, but by learning that human behavior, analyzing that data, they train themselves that the humans are going to behave in this fashion. Whatever mistakes they made or they had to halt themselves and the assembly line had to be disrupted for a while, next day they'll be making improvement on it. So after a month of a training, you will see human and robots in these assembly lines, what we call the well-choreographed dance. So you see these factories in operation, which have been assembly line, have been trained for a month or so. It takes time for them to learn human behavior because humans have many variations in their behavior. After a month, you will see the assembly line robots and human beings as if they are in a well-choreographed dance, operating in that fashion. Obviously, that manufacturing is going to be much less tiresome, more efficient, because if you ask somebody to lift 26-pound gear assembly and lift it every day, human being can do only limited number. This robot doesn't get tired, it keeps doing it. It will be more efficient and be customizable production. So that's the new disruption. Past disruptions we have to take care of, but new disruptions we have to be readying ourselves. Are we inducting these robots into our assembly lines? Are we going to take advantage wherever the situation arises of that advantage? We have to be prepared for that. We did a recent survey. We came out with a Boston Consulting Group, a report called AI Readiness of India. Unfortunately found less than 10% of large corporations are ready to adapt and transform themselves with this technology. We have to be prepared. And that now we are doing a second round of report. What needs to be done in order for us to be ready? Small and medium enterprises are even much lower scale of their readiness. Readiness here is not only the financial readiness, it's more of a adaptability of the organization itself towards it. So we have to move fast, because I can say, well, that's fine, we work at our own pace, elephant ultimately walks. But elephant in this, the IT doesn't give opportunity for elephant to walk. We are operating in world of cheetahs. So we have to behave like cheetahs in order to survive in the era or the new digital era of IT. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure that our audience would also agree that 1995 से लेकर 2024 तक की 30 साल की टेक्नोलॉजी की जर्नी तो हम सब ने सुनी ली है सर से. It felt like a movie replay. Let's have a round of applause for sir here. I'm sure that बहुत सवाल जवाब हैं. We have director sir here in the audience amongst us today. So we'll officially begin the Q&A. We'll try to keep 5 to 6 questions from our audience. और ये सवाल जवाब के कुछ rules and regulations हैं, मैं बता देता हूँ आपको. सबसे पहला तो ये है that you have 2 of our amazing student interns. Can you raise your hands? We have Pratham and Nandan. These 2 boys, they have the cordless mic. So for those of you who have a question, kindly raise your hands and the boys will be there with you. When you ask a question, kindly अपना पूरा नाम और organization का नाम बताएं so that sir knows who we are addressing. And finally, please be brief and specific in your question so we know exactly what to answer. May I have the first question from the audience? We have the first question coming up from Charu in the front row here.
Good evening, sir. Wonderful talk from you, very fueling. You're a very, very perfect manager who could answer everything in your talk, and you were managing it, the digital era, in your talk. It was blooming out, and you were blossoming so many things for everybody around. But I'm in healthcare, so this question is being addressed to ENT clinic and Kids Coach Clinic and Resonate Mind, Body, Soul, where we work on the ENT forum in clinical emergencies, which are 24/7 ENT emergencies, and hearing and mental health space. A few days ago, middle of the night, I got an emergency where I had to experience watch being broken in the ear. It never happens in the ENT history. And I got a chance to get in hand on glove. And I asked the patient that, do you have some pain? So she said no. Anyway, people are very impatient today. Till 7 o'clock in the morning, I told her, we'll see you early morning. You don't have pain. They are metallic, hands of the clock or the parts broken in, and they're very minute. So we'll take it out for you clinically. Don't be in a haste. As such, she didn't wait. They were celebrating. She was celebrating her husband's birthday, young girl. And she came with a drum membrane ruptured at 7 o'clock in the morning in our clinic with all parts in her ear. And she used almond oil and all sorts of things in her ear just to take it out. Now, clinically, it's impossible to take out those parts, but we still managed to do it. But her hearing needs a care for the past up to 4 months. I have a question to you now. Now, how do you think, having such minute hands of the clock, what kind of machines, are we prepared for such kind of having such machines in the surgical era? Because we overdo using robotic hands sometimes as surgeons. So the clinical balance, can you give me some takeaway in that? Because so that everything is coming through, as I mentioned, Tarun and the auto sector I'm connected with, the hearing impairment connectivity is already ushered in the cars. So do you suggest us something, you are prepared to give us something with the technology where this kind of emergency which has never happened across in the forums, can we deal with it? Or what do you suggest on this?
I don't think I am a right person to answer a medical question. But anyway, all technology can do you. See, the human body is still too complex. Although Elon Musk has just proved that he can install a chip in the brain and control certain behaviors. But that is an experimental world. What you are talking about, only technology can help you in expanding the show. I remember South Korea uses, even India probably has begun to use, where you can see the ear canal of a large size.
We
right?
do that.
So that is all you can do. After all, the craftsmanship will be of the human hand. Right? Probably, even if you operate a robotic arm there, is the accuracy of the human hand who is guiding that arm. So that's all I can say, because I'm neither into a medical field nor an expert. So we could do it all,
but my question was, is there anything you have researched it on as a machine? Because hearing we use robotic.
Nothing.
Thanks.
Right.
In such cases, we have newer emerging technologies like augmented reality or virtual reality. So if it is very complex, then you can use the robots who are trained to. I have seen some medical operations being performed using these technologies. I think that can be tried.
Charu, thank you for that question.
What it can possibly enable is the exact precision with which you can find out where the thing is and the size, and then the robot can probably operate.
All right, thank you for that question. May I please pass on the mic to the gentleman on the first table, please. Your name and organization name, sir.
So, good evening. I'm Colonel Jasjeet Singh Gill. I'm an environmentalist. My question is related to the environment of Ludhiana. It may be a little harsh for some. We have some issues because there is no stormwater sewer in Ludhiana. It's the largest and most densely populated and largest city of Punjab. The problem is there are 5 factors which lead to environment which we are having at the moment. The water is getting very, very bad. The air quality is bad, and soil is getting carcinogenic. My query to you is that since our human behavior is a little bit on the greed side, and we are not trying to purify our water before we leave it to the environment, could we have some innovations, digital, which I will call as chemical audit of the outlet of an industrial unit, which can give us an insight that this guy is now doing this, which is harmful to the environment. A Gyaspura tragedy has taken place in which about, you must have heard about it, about 6 to 11 people died. So it happened because there was some chemical thrown into the sewer system. So I would like, because it's an innovative technology to surpass the human greed and cleverness, to cut the cost of production. So could you throw some light on it?
I think you can use, again, I wouldn't say that you can surpass the human brain, but you can use robotic technology or sensor-based technology. You don't even need to you can put the climate sensors at outlets of all these places, have the centralized monitoring happening over a Wi-Fi so nobody even can cut the wire. Today's sensors are able to send the signal in the air. So if you install them at every outlet, of course, as I said, you can't surpass the human thinking, because human will be able to figure it out, how to interfere with that signal. But obviously, solutions exist which can be done in a more efficient fashion, because a human checking samples at every place obviously will never suffice. So sensor-based technology can always solve the problem. We have seen India is creating a great climate network of sensors. IIT Kanpur is handling a project which is AI-based, which is actually going to monitor the climate and air of all the places at centralized location. Initially at IIT Kanpur, later on probably if the whole experiment succeeds, they'll put it at some central location, etc. and so on. So we have that technology available. It's will of the human being to put that technology in place.
Thank you for that question, Colonel. और बहुत अच्छा लगा जानकर for people from Ludhiana that are worried about the city. I'd also like to share one experience that I'm privy to. Dr. Bhaskar here was also in the US, or same pull of the country led him to leave the United States and come back to India because he had a drive to do something for the country, which is very, very common. So thank you for that question. और ये information online नहीं शायद available होगी. ये information मुझे मिली है Mrs. Bhaskar से. We have the privilege. Can we have a round of applause for Mrs. Bhaskar as well? She's joining us today, and a little bit दावत से पहले हम बात करेंगे. She's also a PhD in fine arts. तो ये technology और finance का combination जो है conversation का dinner पे we'll enjoy. We have the third question coming up, Mr. Shobhan Soy.
Very good evening, sir. It's an honor to be a listener to you in this audience. So I belong to the education industry as well as the IT industry. So I run an IT company, and we are predominantly into the early childhood sector as well as the K-12 schools. I want your feedback as an educationist yourself. There is Byju's, who's gone so huge in technology, providing education. And there are schools, I would still say Harvard does not franchise, Oxford does not franchise, but we do. So my question is, what is your take on this? Would technology and online learning actually, would technology and online learning actually be bypassing the human teaching in the classroom, like in the IIMs or IITs or any good institution?
Well, there are two parts in which ways I will answer that question. One, the technology-based education is imminent. So we cannot even think of wishing away that human-to-human education is the only way. Second part is the demand of a country like India is so much that where are the good teachers? While we can improve the quality of the teachers by imparting the standardized education or bringing the quality of these teachers in a technology domain to a higher level, right? First attempt we have tried, what we call the Swayam experiment of the India, where because the problem with 140 crore of population, school-going children being in crores, even engineering and medical, whatever that undergraduate education demand being so high, and how many total quality education institutes we have. Even if we are able to multiply the infrastructure, I don't think that's a challenge. The challenge is to get the good teachers. So one of the experiments we had tried was called Swayam, where IIT, IIM, good engineering college, who are excellent teachers, they will record their lectures and make them available, where at least other teachers will learn from them. And then we also experimented with classroom. Byju's, etc. thrive in the same domain. Because the good quality education teachers are not available at every possible school. And where they are available, people can't afford them. That's the challenge. Also, we have to mete out the access to education. So online is the only solution for our country, number one. Now, will it substitute complete education? Yes and no. Yes and no meaning there are certain aspects of the education. If I have to teach somebody how to multiply, how to divide, how to do all that, even an automated mode, I mean that online and variety of technology-based mode, are as good. Where is the role that I am able to motivate a person to learn 2 by 2? But then there are creative areas. That when to multiply, where to multiply, when multiplication and addition and divisions are useful, etc. and so on. That's where lies the next layer of education, where human beings will be required. When we are teaching somebody about how to solve an engineering problem, a complex problem, learning that how a pulley operates, how electromagnetic field operates, etc. and so on, is a routine learning. Can be done by online teacher who is actually very good at explaining. And also they can use aid of the technology in kind of a video and three-dimensional virtual reality where they can explain it much better than what I can explain to somebody on blackboard. But then problem solving is what? Where the good teachers will thrive. So it will be a mixed mode. Upper end of the education, a certain creative aspect of the education will remain with the humans. And I don't think we have more than that humans to tackle the country's problem today anyway. Second part, he was talking about the Oxford and Harvard are not franchising. Actually, most of the good universities, Harvard as a policy doesn't come out of the country, but many of the UK universities are coming to India. So you may not call them franchise, but because we are not allowing them in a franchise mode, but in a joint mode they're coming up in India because our volumes are so high.
Yeah. Right? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Can we have the next question? Can we have the mic in the front row, please? Mr. Ahuja. Mic.
Thank you for such a wonderful lecture. My question is about the industry-academia interface. So there are many good examples, and worldwide industry-academia work very closely on technology because technology is very costly for the industry. But I think in India it is not up to mark. So what you suggest, the role of the academia and the role of the industry, and what are the best practices at IIM for the industry academia and new technologies being commercialized? Thank you.
Before I am answering only about what IIMs do, because IIMs have a unique capability. In a sense, they are well endowed and well connected with the industry. Our new education policy itself is doing a wonderful job. Actually, in the new education policy, it's a challenge, but the new education policy has been rolled out. The internship will get credit, and it's becoming a mandatory, even at an undergraduate level. So many people are still challenging how can we do when we have lakhs and lakhs of students, where will they find the internship, etc. I think we have always had, when we face the big challenge and a big problem, we find solutions. And people will find solutions in multiple ways of that. But the advantage will happen that today our students who are coming out of universities have never seen industry. They don't understand what working in industry is all about. By at least doing out of their 4 years, 6 months into the industry, they will understand, and then they'll come back and take the courses which are actually job oriented for them. Otherwise, our education system and industry are on two different planes. There it's a matter of just how do I pass my exam. It has nothing to do with whether my courses, even for teacher, it's not only the student, teachers in the whole education system. It's not about that whether it will be useful for the industry in any way or not, right? So this new education policy has challenges. I'm not saying that it's going to be very easy to completely implement it, but as the implementation happens, we'll begin to see the fruits of it, because all these industrial training, industrial exposure are becoming integral part, whether you want to be in a field of art or have the industry exposure. It's like having a common platform. Have exposure to everything in life, then you decide to do whatever you want to do.
Thank you for that question. We'll have the last two questions for the evening. Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll take 3 questions then in that case, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Bharat. You have beautifully captured the journey of the evolution of technology. I was reminded when you were talking of rebars, the innovator's dilemma of Clayton. In fact, I attended a disruptive innovation program with Clayton Christensen of Harvard sometime in 95, 96, I think. Now, my query is, we have talked how the whole technology evolved over a period of time till 2015, you said. What is it looking like 2030, next 10 years, for example? We have Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, we are talking about crypto, animation, and gaming. What is Web 4 and Web 5 to your mind? and when are they likely to unfold in future?
Well, let me say Web 4 and Web 5 will never come. The technology has shifted from web platform. It's all about apps. Two things happen. We've noticed. One is the iOS, which is the Apple's system, operating system. They opened it up. When they opened it up, immediately Google created, and Google is not an operating system company, but they created Android because there was in competition. What Apple was doing, actually surrounding the Google to take away Apple's revenue. It's not obvious how iOS opening will take away Google's revenue. It will be obvious to you because what they did, they decided these apps. You have on a Google, the Apple, tons of apps. I don't go to, if I'm an Apple user, I don't go to World Wide Web anymore. I use weather app, I use buying app, I use travel app. Whichever app is required, I go and click on that. If I don't go to web, I don't go to Google. I don't go to Google, the advertisement opportunity is lost for them. So the ad economy was shifting to apps. Google realized I'll be enveloped by Apple and I will lose all my $80 to $100 billion of, at that point of time, ad revenue. Immediately, they created an operating system called Android. It's not a mobile company. They're not into mobile phones. But they said, take my Android, put it on all your mobiles, and I give you for free. Which company does that? It spends all tons of money. Idea was, I want to counter Apple's invasion and have my apps on all the Android system. Android system is mine. Wherever Android will run, I will control the apps. I will control the advertisement in the apps. Right? So with these two coming in, the Web 4 and Web 5 are gone because we have all shifted toward app economy. So that is the one part. Second, in the 30s, 20 years, 15 years down the line, well, you'll see lots and lots of autonomous systems. It's a revolution of autonomous systems. You have Google cars already running in Phoenix and San Francisco. The future of the taxi service, future of car buying. I don't know how it will behave in Indian roads. That's still a challenge. But wherever there's a structured traffic situation, all the taxis, the ownerships of cars will go away. The autonomous taxis will be available. You put in your app, I'm sitting here at this location, I want to go to X location. Suddenly a vehicle will show up next to you. You sit in there and it drops you there. And you can do whatever work you're doing inside. Right? So that's one part. Same thing will happen with robots. The nimble robots which are learning today will become even more nimble. And when they become even more nimble, they will substitute many of the humans wherever there is a dangerous work. First they replace because as a human I don't want to be exposed there's a gas leak work. The semiconductor industry has been a very first to deploy the robots because there are lots of toxic gases there. So anyway they are going there, and the sophisticated work can be done without impurity, etc., introduced by human being in the semiconductor industry. That same technology will continue to proliferate because these robots will advance at the same kind of a speed. Learning is very fast amongst those robots, which is what the GPT technology is talking about it, but it's actually in robots going to make an impact of it. The chat GPT is more of a fun for me. What it will change is lesser. What will change inside when that open learning platform goes inside these future robots or future autonomous vehicles. So that's the future of the work that if not 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, you will see a very different world where humans are more protected, more comfortable, less exposed to the environmentally dangerous work, etc. and so on. Now we can talk about what will happen to HR issues and what will happen to employment. Right? We'll do a better job in doing better things.
Thank you. We'll take the last two questions. The gentleman in the green T-shirt.
Yeah, hello sir. This is Puneet Goyal and I'm from this garment industry. So since people of Ludhiana are mostly entrepreneurs, so in this era of transformation, digital era, So what you will like to suggest us that what measures we should take to look forward towards future competition in coming times?
All I will say is that scale and scope are going to be two important factors. Ability to, through the automation, scaling up your operations, and second, modifying the scope. Right? What you are doing exactly today may become non-competitive or over-competitive. You need to find alternate value addition model for that. Using information technology, you can do even customized designs. If your machines in future are trained with the multiple design loading, it can even produce, rather than one kind of fabric for hours together, multiple design fabrics as well. Right? It will take some changes in the technology. If your machines are software loadable, then machine may not be even required to be changed, but future learning machines will be in place, and many of them can be retrofitted. Right? So you have to be look out for that technology. If it's happening somewhere else, you need to have the speed to do it, and then a scale to make it more viable.
Thank you. We have the last question of the evening coming up. I have Mr. Varun here. Can I have the mic on the first table on my extreme right, please? Thank you. This is the last question of the evening.
Good evening, sir. I'm Varun Behel, and we are into manufacturing of home textiles. It was very interesting talk which you've given, and the comparison the manufacturing sector has with digital companies, there seems to be no comparison. And the way they have grown, and you have compared with companies, it's taken them centuries or decades reaching where these companies have reached in few years. So do you think the manufacturing, and after listening to you, I feel that since there is no comparison, so are we in the wrong industry? In the manufacturing sector, should we shift to the digital companies work, and catch that boom? And do you think there will be some saturation point like we have in manufacturing also, in this sector also, maybe in times to come, Thank you.
I don't think manufacturing is a wrong sector to be. It's just a sector which is going to be challenged very steeply, right? Because manufacturing is going to be required. But what kind of manufacturing technology will be in place? I would suggest that one need not leave the field. Instead, I say that multiple ways of dealing with the technology. Disruptor directly deals with the new technology. He has nothing to lose. The incumbent has a challenge. And incumbents, that's why, have to do what we call experimenting at the edge. You cannot disturb your core business today because it's already profitable, it's working at efficiency. But what you are worried about is that 3 years down the line, suddenly some technology will come and I'll be completely unprofitable because the new technology produces more efficiently, higher quality, or variety of those factors which can cause the disruption. Right? So you also have to spend certain part of your R&D that here is the experiment I am doing of the disruptor. Be your own disruptor, but not disrupt the main factory, the slight part of it. I'll give you a very age-old example of Ford itself. Right? No, sorry, Studebaker. Some of you may see that the Studebaker car, one of the very first car manufacturer of the world. Studebaker was the largest horse-drawn carriage maker of the world. When all these technologies, the automobile technology was coming in, internal combustion engine has come in, etc. and so on. Studebaker was selling roughly about 2 million horse-drawn carriages at that point of time in the assembly line. He saw this technology, my horse-drawn carriages versus this horsepower-driven technology, what will happen? Rather than worrying, and he started a small experiment. Set up a small plant with maybe 5,000 internal combustion Studebaker made. First year he made 5,000 of them, and he still sold 2 million of these. Continued looking at it. Ford, etc. were driving that. Market was growing. Very next year he was able to sell about 25,000. Because they were growing the market, but he was not out of the market. He was one of the smaller players in the market, relatively. And the next year he sold 50,000. At experimenting at the edge, he had the technology with him, and in that third year journal AGM, he announced Studebaker is stopping the production of horse-drawn carriages. People called him crazy. Who will kill the 2 million assembly line for 50,000 assembly line? Yes, company took a downturn in sale, but Studebaker survived as a great company because it caught on to the new growth curve. The horse-drawn carriage was on a decline. Rather than somebody disrupting, now my horse-drawn carriage is not available to you, I am selling you a car, at least 50% of you will experiment, and 1 million I will be able to sell next year. So that is one model where we call the experimenting at the edge is what we do. That's what we are doing at IIM Ahmedabad today. The question which was asked about the education sector. We have launched an online MBA program. Mainly to counter the foreign invasion, because foreign universities and the top grade universities are offering online MBA. In India, sitting here, I can do online MBA. Now, we have a very strong product in our 2-year and 1-year MBA line, with so much competition, etc. in coming in, so you get the quality of education, quality of the students. But then we decided, we will also launch an online MBA. We will also be getting into their home and fetching their students. If future shifts, and that's not our today's model, as I said, we think our core sector will remain where we are, but what if 5 years or 10 years down the line, world moves towards the online MBA? We are prepared. We will have at least 25% of my product coming out from online MBA. I'll scale it up to 100%. So we always have to be, whenever new technology coming in, don't wait for disruptor to teach us. Let me be my own disruptor.
Thank you once again, and we'll take the questions. Let's have a round of applause for the closing. मेरे पास माइक है, तो मैं ऑडियंस के बिहाफ पे एक बोनस क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहता हूं. If I have your permission, do I have your permission? Sir, we don't have an IIM in Ludhiana. कब आ सकता है Indian Institute of Management Ludhiana के अंदर? We don't have a IIM in Ludhiana. Ludhiana is the biggest city when it comes to GST contribution in the entire state of Punjab. बहुत इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट हैं, बहुत लोग यहाँ पर अपनी फैक्ट्रीज रन कर रहे हैं, बिजनेसेस रन कर रहे हैं, तो टैलेंट की प्लेसमेंट तो यहाँ पर हो ही जाएगी. बट IIM की जरूरत है, तो what would you say to that?
Actually, as of the government policy today, they are actually implementing one IIM per state. So Punjab has already gotten its one in Amritsar. Right. And we are available by online. Plus, we have actually 2 or 3 programs, which now we are again in our experimentation model. Earlier, we had a program which was actually equally powerful for the industry people called MEP, which was a 4-month residential program. And many of our graduates are CEOs today of that program. But later on, what we did, that 4 months is today's time, many people cannot afford. So what we have done is in a blended mode. You spend over a 1-year period of time, roughly about 1 month in campus by coming 2 or 3 times. and rest of it you do it in a blended mode. We call it AGMP, and the higher version of that for senior managers is a senior management program. So we are available to you in a blended mode in Ludhiana as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Actually, typically we don't enter in the domains of Amrit. I will not like to enter in domain, except if it's a Bombay, or Delhi and Bangalore, because there's a room for many more places. What will happen, an older IIM if enters a state where a fledgling IIM is there, then it's a bit of a difficulty for the young IIM. So I think after 5 or 10 years, you will have Amritsar IIM setting up a center in Ludhiana.
Sure. Thank you. On that lighter note, may I please invite on stage Dr. Naresh Kumar Agarwal, and may I request him to give away a memento of respect and appreciation on behalf of all of you to our speaker for the day. Thank you, Dr. Agarwal. Before we open for dinner, may I request President Ms. Kang for her presidential remarks and vote of thanks, please.
Good evening. It's been quite revolutionary. I think my entire life was panned out by Dr. Bhaskar here. It was a nostalgic down the memory lane to everything that happened since I was born, and that was quite intimidating as well. The way I understand disruption is that it's been as inherent as change, as nature, as life and death itself. So when you start with the primitive earth, you go on to talk about how oceans gave way and disrupted, and land came out, how different species were disrupted and newer ones, more evolved, came out. And I believe, as much as I understand everything we're talking here and we say we're moving forward, we talk about growth, I also feel we're going backwards. And that is where we always were. So it's just how you perceive the world and how we understand it. From the minute we were born, we've been looking at something called mythology. And every time we read mythology, we heard about how these missiles and arrows that went about a few kilometers away and they knew exactly where to land. You don't find that as a problem today when you hear about Iron Dome in Israel and how it takes care of hundreds of, and it's been tested and proven. You don't have a problem when you hear about SpaceX. In fact, people like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs are just normal. I mean, all those years back, you felt Einstein was a rock star. He had brought E is equal to mc square out of the thin air, and he had developed something which was out of the world. Light was a marvel, a miracle. But today, to launch a rocket and bring it back, or have so many things that we're looking at. We're talking about neural links, our brains. Maybe another few years, a decade or two, when you sit here and technology and growth would be as simple as you downloading Dr. Bhaskar's lecture and only coming for a networking interaction here. And you could do it in multiple languages as well. And you could be listening to him all across the world. You see, the way technology is growing is extraordinary. And knowledge is truly power. provided we can pick it up and apply it. There's a lot of industry, a lot of growth sitting in this hall today. And Punjab is primarily an agricultural hub. And the first conversation we had here was with Mr. Gart, or Hart, the way he called it, from Netherlands. And one of the things that he was talking to me about over a cup of tea is how they understood already that heavy machines that are going over the soil are killing the nutrients. So therefore, they already have drones which now go not only harvest their crop or specifically customize, provide nutrients and pesticides or whatever medicine was required, but also weed out the unwanted. That is how specific even agriculture today is. And drones of these AI-enabled, technology-driven is how you're harvesting them without even touching the soil. So, world is fascinating. And as much as we find the entire journey that Dr. Bhaskar has taken us through so intimidating and overwhelming, but every year today, as we talk, 23, when you look back, 24, when you now look at it, look at AI, look at open AI, generative AI, everything is transforming at a pace, and we can barely keep up, we can barely catch our breath. So I think we need a lot more of Dr. Bhaskars to come, apprise us, help us grow, evolve, understand, get a hang of, get an understanding of how we're growing, because we all need to take a pause, step back, get it, otherwise it's too much, too fast, going by, and we don't know what we're missing on the side here. I'm so grateful, Dr. Bhaskar, for you to come all the way, enrich us. I understand it's the first time Dr. Bhaskar and Mrs. Bhaskar are in Ludhiana. We're very honored to have you here. I would also personally like to thank every one of you who's taken out the time to be a part of this today event, and to the media, the students, the team, organizing. Great show, great efforts. God bless you. We'd love to connect and talk to all of you more over dinner. Please join us. Thank you.